Summer storms ripped through Minnesota in late June, cutting a swath of damage from the northwestern corner of the state to the Iowa border in the southeast. Numerous counties felt the impact, which ranged from downed trees, extensive flooding, road washouts, and major power outages. Governor Dayton and legislative leaders met privately during the summer to discuss a special session that would provide state aid for those distressed counties. Included in those talks was the repeal of various taxes enacted in the 2013 session. After lengthy discussions, the leaders emerged in late August with a general agreement on the parameters of a special session.
We have come to an agreement, signed a letter that we will have a special session on September 9th that will be focused on providing disaster relief to the communities hit by the weather events that we've had in Minnesota over the course of 2013, and it'll be limited to that, and we'll do like we've done in the past, which is make sure our first and top priority is getting relief to the folks who really need it across the state of Minnesota.
Basically, we've written a letter to the legislative leaders and to the governor saying that we favored the repeal of all three of the business-to-business taxes, which we did, and that was the letter in our proposal. We did talk about that. We did spend a fair amount of time exploring the possibility of whether we would need to do a special session at all. Started that talk on Friday, continued that a little bit today. We spent the bulk of our time talking about, well, if $300 million cost, quote unquote, to do all three of the business taxes is too much, can we repeal the entirety of the one tax? The repair and maintenance tax was about $150 million. We spent the bulk of the time talking about the willingness on the part of the majority to do that. I think there is a reluctance on their part to go through the process of finding the detailed spending reductions.
I've said all along, if to make this a serious proposal to repeal all three of them, we need to find the money, either additional revenues or reduced spending to balance it out. And no one's given a specific or even serious proposal to do that.
It is our priority to do the disaster relief. It has been all along. It was their original position that this should be disaster relief and disaster relief only. They thought there might be an opportunity to fix some mistakes that were made at the end of session. Ultimately, we couldn't agree on how exactly to do that. My hope is that those mistakes will get fixed in the next regular session.
Federal authorities met this summer with local community members to assess storm damage and hear about local needs. State lawmakers recently held a joint committee hearing to also hear from those affected and gauge the need for state assistance.
Winds came through, knocked down poles, wires, took trees down that, of course, they go over and they take wires, poles, transformers, all that type of stuff down for us, and it affects us.
We had extensive tree damage, and the cost for debris management of chopping down those trees, taking out the stumps, disposing of that debris is exorbitant for many of our communities. We had 18 jurisdictions impacted throughout the entire county, and that cost for debris removal is very overwhelming.
The federal government will incur 75% of the estimated $18 million in disaster relief costs, while the state would pick up the remaining 25%, about $4.5 million.